Jon Snow wasn't born into royalty, but through his hard work and his bravery, he protected his community and he rose to greatness. He's also famous for a map that he created that traced the progression of cholera through a neighborhood of London. Oh, yeah, I'm talking about this John Snow. Dr. John Snow in the mid 1800s, he saw an outbreak of cholera, and everyone at that time said that cholera was caused by miasma, by dirty air. He wasn't buying it. So what he did was he created a conceptual map. He started with a map of the neighborhood, and he drew thick lines, one for every fatality in a household. And this is a close-up of the map, but if you zoom out, you can see that all the lines point to that pump in the middle upper area, a pump that was providing contaminated drinking water to the community. Another example of a conceptual map from that time, that century, was of the march of Napoleon in 1812 to Moscow. It was a catastrophic endeavor. The thickness of the line showed the loss of lives. A more recent catastrophe is one in the making. This is from this week's Economist magazine. I think it's one of the best data visualizations I've ever seen, and it has map-like qualities. First of all, it has an actual heat map, and secondly, it shows you are here, just like every map that you've seen in a shopping mall. So this is important because today we're in the era of big data. It's even harder than ever for us to get people to understand what they're looking at and to take action. I'm proposing that you can do it by turning charts more into maps. Eric Edward Tufte, he would agree. This is a before of a chart makeover that he did in one of his textbooks. It shows the body mass versus brain mass for various animals. And in its original state, it's really not announcing anything to you. But as soon as he turns it into a map, suddenly things snap into focus and you can see, oh, there are humans and there are our intellectual peers, their closest genetic relatives, right in the same neighborhood. Now I'm going to give you a case study, and we're going to make up a company. It's let's say it's Game of Thrones again. It's a Game of Thrones merch site, and they have stores all across the U.S. and also have an e-commerce site. And they've got a Google problem because they redesigned their website without thinking about search engine optimization. We saw the numbers. We saw the before and after columns when we looked at the top product pages, and we were alarmed. And we told IT, who is the ostensible owners of the website, that we were convinced that this is a search engine problem. They thought that it might be a glitch, a coincidence, miasma. So we tried to be more compelling. We plugged the numbers into Excel, and this is the chart that we got back. Again, it's an honest chart. It does show the drop, but it doesn't move you. So what we did was we tore a page from Edward Tufte, and we used a scatter chart. And in our case, the X and Y axes were the X was before and the Y was after. And we showed them on the left that, hey, if there was no change, if it was exactly the same, then all of those dots, which were the product page visits, would be lined up at a 45-degree angle. But instead, they were all hanging out below the 45 degrees. We added some percentages. We knew that that would be interesting. Their most popular product page had been 30,000 visits. Now it was down to less than 10,000 visits from Google. And finally, we added iconography. We actually showed the products, and they happened to be their dearest product. So this really got the attention of the product managers, and suddenly they took action. Here's another example. It's a different client, but we'll say it's the same Game of Thrones merch site, the same top 10 product pages. And we were asked to optimize the product pages to improve conversion. But when you do this, you always want to start with the biggest bang for the buck. So we had a number of visits in a given period. That was the middle column. And then the right column was conversion rates. Obviously, you want to optimize the highest visits, lowest conversion rates. This Excel chart doesn't help. I mean, it is again accurate, but to anyone who isn't trained to read it, it's not helpful. So what we did was we turned the data into an actual map, a tree map, and we overlaid it with something called a heat map. The darker the red, the lower the conversion rate. So you can see, the size of the rectangles is volume, and sure enough, it's the Dinera's Tiki mug that we should optimize first. That'll give us the biggest bang for the buck. By the way, I call these things brownie charts. Their official title is a tree map, but brownie chart, well, first of all, it looks like a pan of brownies to me. And secondly, it sort of follows the carbohydrate theme of other area charts, the pie chart and the donut chart. Another advantage, incidentally, of a brownie chart is that in platforms such as Tableau, you can click on the problem area, as I have here, and you can actually reveal the source of that low conversion rate. And in this case, of the people who stick around, most people who don't buy have read the reviews. One last tip for you is use your words. Properly entitle the slide, and don't be afraid to provide recommendations, because recommendations, even if you aren't correct, even if they contradict you, they will provide a better recommendation. And without even realizing it, they will come to some sort of action.